Hello and welcome to the Silver King's War. I'm Michael Sievers, the writer, producer, and creator of this podcast series about my father's Second World War as a B-26 bombardier. Today we continue in the epilogue for Dearest Ones, the letters that the Silver King wrote to his family throughout the war. It's April of 1943, and the Silver King is about to arrive for pilot school in Lakeland, Florida. Stanley's pilot school was a special place. It was called the Ludwig School of Aeronautics. The school was founded by Albert Ludwig, who was born in Mystic, Iowa in March of 1904. His father owned a coal mine, and Albert, learning from his father, became very interested in business. He went on to study at Iowa Wesleyan College and then gained a master's degree from the Harvard Business School in 1927. Ludwig's aviation career began in 1929 when he joined a subsidiary of the Curtiss-Wright Corporation. He moved up the corporate ladder and left Curtiss-Wright after a decade to become the president of Stinson Aircraft Corporation. In 1940, Ludwig purchased an interest in the Lincoln, Nebraska Flying School, which was a civilian flight training operation, and he moved it to Lakeland, Florida in 1940, calling it at first the Lakeland School of Aeronautics and then the Ludwig School of Aeronautics. Ludwig leased the Lakeland Municipal Airport as his home base for the school and then opened a second school in 1941 in Avon Park, calling it the Ludwig Aviation Military Academy. And these schools were among several across the country which had come under contract to the United States Army to provide flight training for the Air Corps cadets during World War II. And between 1940 and 1945, Ludwig trained over 8,000 air cadets and graduated almost 6,000. After the war, the facility became the spring training home of the Detroit Tigers, an American League baseball team. Stanley's writing from pilot school began on April 4th, 1943. In a letter to his family, Dearest Ones, he described the school and its grounds as God's country. He said it was 100 acres and had a lake and was built in 1939. Stanley and his guys rode a Pullman car for 21 hours from Montgomery to reach Lakeland. And when they arrived, they found an incredible place, virtually brand new, with many of the comforts of private life. He discovered in the mess hall that they were being served by beautiful white girls. He was impressed. On April 5th, he met his civilian instructor, Captain Hayes, who had 4 other students. And a day later, the Silver King wrote that he really felt, honestly, that flying is the greatest thing in the world. Now he was wearing comfortable and cooler khakis and feeling like a cadet. Stanley wrote to his family that unlike pre-flight school in Montgomery, that cadets really rated at Ludwig. And it was during April, of course, that he was gambling extensively with his fellow cadets, and they began calling him the Silver King. Throughout his letters from Ludwig, the king was clear that the work was difficult and intense, and he knew that the washout rate was high. But he flew solo for the first time on April 22nd, 1943, and described it as his day of days. One day later, he was 20. And as he proceeded towards his 10-hour check ride to determine whether or not he would be a pilot, his instructor, Captain Hayes, was encouraging. And he kept telling the king, "I think you can do it. Now show me." And of course, the solo flight was followed by a traditional shower from his fellow cadets with his clothes on. And during the month, his folks sent him a special birthday gift, a watch, and he was thrilled by all of it. But then, suddenly, the world changed. On Wednesday, April 28th of 1943, our hero, the Silver King, washed out of pilot school. He wrote a brief and heartbreaking letter to his family. "Dearest Ones, had my 10-hour check today and flunked it. I'm through. Washed out. The check writer said I didn't have enough coordination. That's a laugh. I don't know what will happen now, and don't give a damn. Don't feel like writing any more. Write Dad the swell news. I haven't got the heart. Love, Stan." You, of course, as faithful followers of our hero, the Silver King, know that he had plenty of heart. And late in the month of April, after his washout, he was consoled by his new friend, a whack from Tampa named Betsy. And Stan, as he writes it, was in love and thinking about marriage. Trying to keep his mind off his failure, he wrote to his family on May 3rd, "Just believe in me." Now we know that our hero, the Silver King, did not become one of the famed pilots in the sun who were trained at the Lakeland and Avon Park facilities between 1940 and 1945. But we do know that Stanley went on to a decorated career as a B-26 bombardier, flying from A-72 in Europe. As Stanley waited for word about his reassignment following washout, he received his individual flight record student sheet on May 13th, 1943. Name, Silverfield, Stanley Lester. Rank, Air Cadet. Age, 1923. Air Corps, Lakeland, Florida. Flying classification, student pilot, elementary school. Transferred from 60th Army Air Force Training Detachment, Lakeland, Florida, to Army Air Force's Classification Center, Nashville, Tennessee. Ratings and dates, none. Transfer date, May 13th, 1943. For the month of April 1943, Stanley flew in a PT-17. He did 59 landings, and he had a student dual time of 13 hours and 23 minutes and 39 seconds. Officially, the Silver King was reassigned on April 28th, 1943, for flying deficiency. And this was certified correct by his check rider pilot, L.A. Barron's Captain, Air Corps. Now, as our hero, the Silver King, awaits his reassignment orders, he does know that he'll be returning to Nashville, the classification center, and that his ratings and scores will mean he will be going on to bombardier or navigation school. And it's difficult, but he's trying to be hopeful about what's ahead. And we are hopeful as well as we come to the end of Part 5 of the Dearest Ones Epilogue, and you are listening to The Silver King's War.